first off, your first impression here is you're kind of going around through the conference.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and part of my objective early on was to do a goodwill tour of the campuses across the WCHA footprint, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been to the Minnesota schools, obviously, because I live in the Twin Cities. I've been to Mankato, and I've been to Bemidji State, and then I was at Alabama Huntsville earlier. A couple of weeks ago, I was at Bowling Green in Ohio, and now I'm at Ferris State University, and it's great to be on this wonderful campus.
To have the WCHA be a part here in Michigan, and certainly here in the West Michigan area with Big Rapids, how important is it for the conference?
Well, it's a school that has a great hockey tradition. If you look around the room and see all the great players that have played here, not only collegially, but went on to greater things in professional hockey and the NHL, it says a lot about the program. But they have a great coach. They have a wonderful athletic department staff who are committed to Division I college hockey. And Ferris State, after that big win last night over Alaska, I think are on their way to having a wonderful season and hopefully representing our conference in the NCAA tournament as well.
Going back to it, having the tournament there at Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids last year, first year, I know it's your first year, but the impressions that the conference had from that first year and the importance and the excitement of going back again this year.
Well, this year we're in St. Paul at the Xcel Energy Center, and then we come back in 2016 to Van Andel, and I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of those folks that were around the tournament there. I was not with the league at that time, heard a lot about it and how we can make improvements, but we really need those Michigan schools, all of them that are in the footprint, to make the tournament and have good years so we draw more excitement for college hockey, and that's going to be part of the emphasis, but also getting into the corporate community in the Grand Rapids area and the Big Rapids area, so a lot of those sponsor opportunities and the fan base continues to grow for that tournament. But it's a wonderful site, and a lot of the teams in the conference said it was one of the best run events they've seen in college hockey.
Commissioner, kind of talk about your job here.
You call me Bill.
Okay. Bill, talk about the job you're doing here, trying to increase the awareness and the popularity of the conference here. A lot of people, they said when the new conference came around, people were saying, "Oh, these are teams that maybe couldn't get in the bigger conference." But talk about just the progress made last year, this year too, with the record your teams have in non-conference play.
Well, I would say that's the biggest note right now is the WCHA has done so well in non-conference play. I believe I looked at the records this morning, and we're number 2 as far as conferences, just shortly behind the NCHC as far as our non-conference play, and that says a lot about the quality of the teams and the coaches and the commitments to these programs. I look for this to be a great year for the WCHA. In my mind, I see 2, 3, maybe even 4 teams making the NCAA tournament this year, and I'm so proud of that fact. I can't take credit for what's happening on the ice, but I see the improvements that have been made and the commitment level on all ends, and I see this as a great year for the WCHA in men's college hockey.
And looking at the setup of the league, obviously you've got teams like Alaska and a lot of travel time and things like that. What do you guys try to do as far as limiting costs on the teams for making those sort of travel plans and things like that?
Well, we're going to be working with the Alaska schools going forward on how we can better use our resources with them. And how we can use hotels and chartering flights and getting out in front of that a little bit more. But the cost of airline travel has gone up and continues to rise, and we're going to have to measure that as we go forward. But both the Alaska schools, both in Anchorage and Fairbanks, have been great supporters to the WCHA, and I think they have a place in this conference and will continue to do well. They have a lot of travel as well when they come to the upper Midwest into the Midwest region. For them, that's not an easy task either. So we understand that dilemma, but we're doing our best to make it work. The great thing about the WCHA right now is we have teams in Alaska and all the way to Alabama, and it's a wonderful footprint, so to speak, and then we're condensed in Ohio and in Michigan here, and then also in Minnesota marketplace overall. So it's a great conference as far as that's concerned, and I don't think a lot of fans realize that 1/6 of all Division I college hockey programs are in the WCHA. There's 59 teams playing Division I college hockey, and we have 10 of them, and so proud of all 10 member institutions.
And looking back at last year, obviously had Ferris, Minnesota State in the tournament. How big do you think those two teams, the runs they made, that kind of helped make the exposure of the league a little better?
Well, I think it's important, but if you look at this year already, Michigan Tech is undefeated and overall, and that's a great story in college hockey, and we're trying to push that out on all our social media platforms and all of our national platforms right now. As I said earlier, I think we could see 3 or 4 teams making the tournament. But Ferris, after their win last night, looks like they're back in the fold as far as where they want to be, and I know they're going to get better and better as the season goes, and a perennial preseason favorite to do very well, not only in the WCHA but nationally. We need them to do well, but we also need Mankato's to do well. We need the Bemidji's, and we'd love nothing else than to have all 10 schools have great years in the WCHA.
In terms of individual performers, there are a lot of really great ones at this conference. Was that at all a factor when you were trying to put together the conference? Did you look for kind of individuals that you thought would stand out and make the conference kind of look good?
Well, in all fairness, the schools were, before I came in, were already in place, so I didn't really have any factor in what schools came into the WCHA, but having worked the Final 5 tournament for many years, and after seeing the changes in college hockey and the chance to take the job as the commissioner of this conference and see the great schools and the passion that these athletic departments have and the coaches and these student athletes, I thought this would be a wonderful place to set forth and help rebuild this conference into a perennial great college hockey conference for all of the U.S. and North America to share in.
Now, in terms of overtime structure right now, it's currently 5 minutes, and then if there's no score, it's a tie. Have you talked about restructuring overtime, kind of like professional leagues have at this point?
I've had some discussions with a few coaches, but also I've talked to our administrators, our head of officials, Greg Shepard, and also Coach Jeff Sauer, who is a consultant to the league, about that possibility. And it's something we're taking a look at, but I don't have a firm answer for you right now if that's something we're going to do. The other thing I'll tell you, though, too, about the league in general is we're trying to increase the revenues for the league right now. Number 2 is we're doing that through a lot of different means, television, radio, and sponsorship. And then we're also trying to increase the exposure for this conference on so many different levels. And social media is a huge factor for us in what we're trying to do and push out our messages and push out the great stories about these student athletes. And then we're looking at expansion for the league. And I don't have any answers to tell you who's coming into the league or what the chances are of that happening. But I like the ability that have been contacted and been aggressive in talking to a lot of different schools, mainly in the western part of the United States, about the potential of joining the WCHA and adding 1 or 2 more teams to this great conference.
Do you have a certain timeline for what you'd like to get that process done?
On the expansion side?
Yes.
Well, I'd like to do that sooner than later. I think it all depends on each institution and how quickly they can come up with the ability to house Division I college hockey, which is not easy. They have to have a budget set. They have to have donors in place to help set that up. And then they also have to have, with the gender equity situation, they have to add a women's sport as well if they're going to add a men's sport to their program. So that's a big deal. But I see more expansion in college hockey, not only in the West, in the Sun Belt area, but I also see it in the East too, as I've been contacted by several schools out East about the potential of joining the Division I college hockey ranks, but also at the same token joining the WCHA, which is pleasant for me to hear, because I think that tells me that there's a lot of interest in this storied conference, which has had so many national championships, so many Hobie Baker winners, and so many great competitors that have played in the league. And we're happy to have a school like Ferris State who represents our conference in so many different ways.
So when you're talking about expansion, excuse my lack of vocabulary for a better word here, we're not talking about poaching a team from another conference. We're talking about finding some school that's going to develop a program, or maybe take a program that was maybe D3, move up to D1?
That is correct. Or a school that does not have, that's playing club hockey right now, that is interested in becoming a Division I program. And that takes time. That doesn't happen overnight. It may take a school or institution 2 to 3 or 4 years before that can happen. So we're already cultivating those conversations with schools about their ability to become Division I programs. We're working jointly with College Hockey Inc., which is based in the Twin Cities as well, about the feasibility of that, and helping schools understand what budgets look like to house a men's college hockey program, which are very, very expensive.
Yeah, and that leads to the next question. I mean, the thought you mentioned on the western side, is that thought because you have the Alaska schools out there that are out in there? I mean, really, there's no easy travel out there, but maybe that makes it easier for them. Is that the thought process when looking out west?
That's a little bit of it, but it's also the enticement of having big schools and this wide network, and then also getting us in other places where college hockey may not be as visible in the past. I look at that as a way to grow the sport of college hockey, not just the WCHA.
Is that the biggest challenge now facing the WCHA and college hockey in general here? Because, I mean, this is a sport that has had seismic changes the last couple of years, and it seems like the dust has settled in terms of the current schools moving from here and there.
Well, part of the reason I came into the WCHA is they wanted to have some stability put in place and some protocols, and I've been trying to do that as best I can as I started here in mid-May and have come onto the job, and that's going to take more time. But I also see that there's a great ability for this league to flourish overall, and I want to be a part of that, and I want to see 4 or 5 teams make the NCAA tournament in years to come, and people be proud of the WCHA. I mean, we took schools from the CCHA and schools from the WCHA. I'm very happy with the schools we have because most of them have these wonderful hockey traditions, and I've been going to these campuses and talking to fans and talking to donors and talking to administrators, and they all want to see this conference succeed, and that's why I'm here, and I want to help it succeed. I can't do it on my own. I need the help of all the member institutions.